This is a slideshow about making trunk compartments for a full-size 1962 Oldsmobile. There's nothing untidier than the trunk area of most cars. Yet there's so much stuff we want to carry around with us. Trunk compartments are a great way to organize. It all starts with making a plan and then visiting your friendly neighborhood lumber store. It's fortunate that these old relics have such deep trunk wells. In the photos ahead, you'll see how to make efficient use of all that trunk space in the trunk well and still leave plenty of room for luggage and anything else you may wish to carry up top. I've purchased 1/2-inch plywood for the compartment base and 5/8-inch composite shelving material for the compartment dividers, the compartment doors, and also the large covering lid. You may also need to pick up some matching carpeting to give the trunk compartments a professional look. Start by making a template and cut the plywood base to the size of the trunk well floor. Then measure very carefully, leaving plenty of room at the top for the 5/8-inch covering board. Cut the 5/8-inch shelving boards to the correct length and width. Your local lumber mill will usually do the cutting for you at no charge with your purchase. As a caution, you may find that nothing is plumb or square about a trunk well, so be very careful cutting. Shimming may be required. Once you get the size right, make cuts in the boards so that they interlock with each other to form rectangular compartments. In the case of my car, I've made 9 compartments in the trunk well. This photo shows the 1/2-inch plywood base with interlocking compartment boards sitting on top. Once this is done, use more templates to make edging with 5/8-inch boards around the perimeter of the compartment divisions. This edging will give the unit extra strength and enhance its appearance. It also creates nice square corners for the compartment doors. Disregard the little triangles you see in the corners as they were not used. The edging boards are then countersunk to the height of the compartment division boards. The next step in the process is to glue durable vinyl to the bottom floorboard and the compartment interior walls. You're now ready to attach the large covering lid. The trunk compartments are being made as a single unit which can be removed at any time to return the car to its original status. The compartments can be taken out easily and quickly. To mount the large covering lid, I've used piano hinges. Piano hinges were also used on the individual compartment doors. This photo shows the large covering lid set in its place upside down as a test, with the carpeting a shade lighter in color. The actual upside color of the carpeting will match the trunk carpeting exactly. You'll note that when the trunk well is covered, a nice flat trunk appears with plenty of room for extra storage. The covering has now been attached correctly with piano hinges, and carpet has been glued to both sides of the covering lid for a smooth surface. Now we're ready to measure carefully and cut out the individual compartment doors. Again, 5/8-inch shelf board was used. The doors were then carpeted both sides and are ready to put in place. This is still a work in progress, as the doors need to be fitted correctly around the edges and made to lie flush and straight. This has yet to be done. Stop blocks were added to the compartment interiors for the compartment doors. A small handhold was made in the covering lid so it can be easily raised. Lift handles are purely functional. I used round key rings and cotter pins. The key rings slide inside to the eye of the cotter pin, and holes are drilled in the doors to push the cotter pin through. Decorative washers are used on the top just below the eye of the cotter pin, and washer is used on the other side of the door. The cotter pin is then plied apart to hold everything secure. This was a good idea as the key rings are extremely functional. They lift the door but yet lie very flat against the door surface, so they do not impede the closing of the covering lid. Please do not look too carefully at the edges around the doors. As mentioned earlier, they still require some work to make them level and flush with the surface. This project is by no means complete. There is still plenty to do. I'm first to admit it. But it does create a place for everything and everything in its place. All is neatly stored in the trunk well compartments below, while the top of the trunk bed is flat and smooth and gives no indication of what's hidden below the large covering panel. Extra carpeting was added to the covering lid to cover the small gap around the perimeter of the trunk well. The trunk now is flat and completely hides the storage compartments below. In case you are wondering, there is still more than enough room to tote anything extra you may wish to carry, like suitcases, picnic baskets, etc. Here's a view from the other side of the car. The upside carpeting matches perfectly, and there's nothing to indicate what's stored below in the trunk well. Yet it's easily accessible when the covering lid is lifted. The look is clean and uncluttered. Still to be added is a lift rod to hold the covering lid in place when it's opened. It's important to note that the compartments have been made as a single unit, and they can be easily lifted out within seconds to return the trunk to its original appearance. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and it's given you a few ideas.